I had to make a change to my CSS style for this particular layout right here. This was a layout where I had a navigation here on the left, which is fixed, and therefore this side of the web page is movable with this scroll bar, and using the anchor tags, my navigation stays in place as I move to my different sections of the page using these anchor tags. Well, once I started getting more and more notes, more and more subtitles here, and I generally have my page half and half so that I have my output on one side and my code on the other, so that as I'm testing it, I can see at a glance what's happening. Well, anyway, as this part is growing, it started moving beyond the visual plane, and I wasn't able to get a scroll bar on it. I'm not sure why, because I've had designs before where I could scroll multiple sections, but for whatever reason I couldn't get my navigation area to have a scroll bar so that I could scroll down to these other things, especially as I went in to a smaller and smaller width of the viewport. So what I wound up having to do, instead of this being set at like 15% the width, and then this side being set to like 78% of the width, and both of them would sponge in and out depending on mouse is frozen. I had to set it to this navigation area to a minimum width so that it wouldn't squeeze this stuff to flow beyond the visual part. Since you don't have a scroll bar, you can't scroll down here, so I had to keep a certain width. And in doing that, this div, the div that holds all this stuff on the right, I gave it a certain left margin, so that no matter how big this would be, this would still be up against the navigation area right here. So it kind of changed a few things. I mean, I really didn't have a choice when I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get a scroll bar in this div. So the changes in the style, the body, I didn't change anything. The WebKit stuff, so that we can change the appearance of our scroll bars here, I didn't change any of that. I did change this in my div pound left, which I don't need the word div, but my pound left, it's position fixed and it's a width 15%. But if I didn't give it this minimum width of 225, I'll show you what happens if I Z it out. And I see this stuff is flowing beyond the view, and there's no scroll, so I can't scroll to go to the rest of it. And I couldn't figure out why. I even took the position fixed off, and that got nasty looking. It disappears, and when you look for it, you're like, where the heck did it go? It's way up here, but now it flows with the page. And the only bad thing about that is when I use my anchor tags here, let me try one of these, it takes me to this proper place, but this is fixed up here to be only next to this text area, and I want my navigation to be next to whatever I click, whichever one of these text areas that I want to go over. So it was just a hot mess. So I need to go back to my left section with the position fixed, and I need to go back to a minimum width of 225 just to keep it in the viewing area. I mean, it's fixed, it stays right here. It's just if I get more and more and more things right here, I'm gonna have to stop. which it's kind of okay because I'm almost done with this chapter anyway. I think I only have one or two more little concepts to show. But I thought, okay, if I have minimum width of 225 pixels, then maybe I can take this width of 15% off. But that didn't work either because it does that. And I'm like, God, you get one problem, you fix one problem, you get three more. And when you assume that you can take off a certain style, when you test it, maybe you can't. And if you don't really understand all of the intricacies of these styles, you kind of end up with this um, recipe of styles and you're not exactly sure how to fix it when you get a problem. So you go with trial and error, which is time consuming and not always fun, but this is kind of how it is when you're a new programmer. You don't have it all down pat in your head, so it's a lot of practice of trial and error. I suppose if I would just put width 225 instead of minimum width 225, let's see how that works by taking the width of 15% off. Now that's fine, because if I'm giving it a set fixed width, no matter how big everything else is, then that's fine. I don't need a percentage. Okay, so there's that. Position is fixed. The width is given a set static number of pixels. No longer is this section stretchable with a percentage. The display in line, I thought I practiced taking different things off, and I guess I can take that one off. Can't move it. So I can take this off. Let me see if I can take the float left off. Yeah, I can take that off. That doesn't seem to be a problem either. Okay. So now our left div only has a position fixed, a width of 225 pixels, and a padding of 5 pixels. I can take, let's see if I can do anything different with the div right. The div right, I had to take the 78% off because, let's see what happens if I don't. You see what happens? You have to scroll here, and I don't want that. So I take the width off. If I can see the width off. Now it automatically fits in here. This fits and this fits. So I've got to take the width off. It's got a margin left of 230 pixels so that it doesn't overlap over the navigation area, and a padding of 10 pixels. So I guess I'm actually ending up with simplified code for my styles. Didn't have to do anything to the field set. The legend, I didn't change anything there. I did kind of rearrange my style so that I had the element, the opening curly brace, one single statement with a semicolon per line, and then the ending curly brace. It makes it easier to look at, especially when you're having a problem and you got to experiment with taking certain lines out by zing them out and seeing if it still works, and then just taking them out. And yeah, that's the only thing I changed. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention, just in case you want to use one of these templates and then you end up getting more and more stuff on here and you have the same problem I did. You'd be like, oh my god, this interface sucks. So I guess this will have to do.